evaluate the season for your guys?
I tell you what, we evaluated based on obviously completions, incompletions, interceptions, the whole 9 yards. One thing about it I evaluate from those two is that, everybody's really been growing even closer throughout this year. Just taking a little bit of some of the adversity that we've had, and those guys just been really, really honing in with each other. So that's been tough to see, but good to see at the same time. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's always something which you have to look at and lean on in these kind of times.
In a lot of ways, can you learn more from these guys by dealing with this?
Oh yeah. And you should be able to learn a lot through wins, and you also learn a lot through losses as well. The one thing about it is continue to learn, and understand who you have, and understand who the person is to the right and the left of you, because you, as well as I know, life's full of up and downs, and and you got to lean on certain people when you're going through down times, and I think they've had a great ability to try to work on doing that this year.
You guys have gotten used to the trio at cornerback that
Right.
you guys have had for several years
Right.
now. But what have you seen of the trio at safety that you guys have built between PJ, Donovan, and Javon, and how they've come together?
That's right. A bunch of guys with like minds trying to be the best at their position and compete day in, day out. Just like the three guys on the outside, those guys have been competitive with each other. And those other three guys at safety, the rotation-wise, they've been competitive with each other as well. With that being said, they all help each other. They all want the best for each other. They're all in the film room together, so it's a happy thing. It's a good thing to have because they're getting a lot of reps this year. And like I said, each of them are making their own plays and their own style of play, if you will.
Archie, Pat told us on Monday that a lot of things funnel towards Donovan, and that leads to some of the tackle numbers that we see. But obviously, you still have to bring him to the ground.
Got to get him down.
As simple as some of the wrestling background? What makes him such?
Yeah, well, we joke about that all the time. He's a very good player as far as being able to diagnose the run. I think he has a good understanding of where the ball will be placed at, in tackling angles that he's put in. With that being said, that helps him be able to get into those spots. And then with his wrestling background, if you watch a lot of his tackles, a lot of that stuff shows. As far as some of his double leg takedown, ankle takedowns, you name it, it shows up to him. And I, sometimes call him Mr. Stretch, because he gets in some awkward positioning as well. But the one thing about it, like you said, he gets them down.
What do you guys learn from? You mentioned you learned from the wins and learned from the losses. What did you learn from the losses?
What did we learn from the losses?
Yeah.
Just trying to get some wins.
Anything specific that you learned?
Well, I tell you what, as you go through this thing in college football, it's tough to win, all right? And I think that the one thing that we always pride ourselves on is development of guys, as far as fundamentals and techniques. And the one thing when you're going through those times again, you have to just keep leaning back on that. So to answer your question, my short answer is I like wins.
Okay.
MJ, go ahead.
I'm just going to say Duke has had some transition at quarterback with injuries that they've dealt with. They have some experienced receivers. How do you approach that passing attack that you're going to see on Saturday?
Yeah, they've got a style of play. They do a good job over there at Duke as well, as far as the offensive schematics of it. And I think both the quarterbacks that they have obviously a freshman that's playing right now, very similar kind of packages that they utilize with the redshirt sophomore, if I believe correct. But, as far as areas in the field and route concepts, and then obviously the running plays that they do as well. But it is always good to know exactly the tendencies of the person in which that you are playing. And we try to hone in on that because we have had enough film over the last few weeks to be able to break that down. So
MJ's in a unique position where he's been one of your most talented players. I think everyone knows who he is, but he has a year left of eligibility. How do you talk to him about growing and sticking around? And you're not going to impede his decision to leave or anything, but how do you keep talking to him, try to help him grow as a person during that time, especially with a season that didn't go the way he wanted?
Yeah, well, hopefully he does have opportunity. He has the opportunity to come back. Hopefully he does. But end of the day, I think that's something where said, I talk to him about certain things. Other people talk to him within the building about certain things, and he's got family at home as well that will talk to him about certain things. One thing about it, MJ's a very, very smart individual. He can pull in everything around him and make the best decision for himself. And that's what you got to do in those kind of situations. You got to think about yourself as well as the team. I think he can do a lot of good by listening to good people that he trusts around himself.
you talking about Duke again? They've lost a couple of close games the last 2 weeks, but
Mhm.
they're scoring points. What comes off the videotape when you watch them? Watch their
Again,
offense?
what you're saying, they're very efficient. All right, you know what I'm saying? They have a system, and then they follow that system. And that's what they're good at doing. You know, the one thing about it, we've been playing good defense, hopefully as well, too, these last few weeks, too. So it'll be a great challenge. It'll be a fun game for us, just because of how efficient that they are. And, you know, the way that they put together, you know, they play the game of football, you know, which I think will match up well with the way we play on defense as well, being nice and precise, efficient, and playing and being aggressive towards what the offense is trying to give us.
Archie, what's it been like to coach Quez over this time?
I love it. I love all three of those guys, and Quez has been great. He's been here the longest out of all those guys, and our relationship. I always joke with him the last few weeks because it gets sentimental for myself as well as him, knowing that he's about to leave, and all three of those guys are about to leave. But he's just an energetic guy, you know, and he's got the biggest heart of a lion. And I know when I put him in there with anybody, he's going to come out victorious. All right, you put him in the closet by himself with somebody else, the one that's going to come out, I don't care who you put in there with him, he's going to come out of there. Does that make sense? All right, and that's who he is to me. You know, it's been, you know, going back to when I threw him in the first time, really UCF. He didn't know I was going to play him, but in my mind, I was playing him that game. And he was right here standing to me, and I, boom, get in there. And he's like, oh, shoot. You know, next thing you know, he got a now route, boom, tackled the guy because I knew the kind of heart he had. And the rest is kind of history. You know, so I still remember that day. And he does too. But it's been a joy to coach him just because of who he is as a person, and who he's matured as a person as well. That's what I'm most impressed with, on where he was as a freshman to where he is now as far as the maturation in play as well as off the field.
Was that his true freshman year? UCF?
I can't, don't quote me on that, but I want to say redshirt freshman year. 19. Don't quote me on that. Was it 19? UCF?
It was here.
Yeah, it was here. So whatever year that was. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anything final for Coach before we get to MJ?
Quick one about AJ. He started a lot of games. He's done whatever. Like, is he that type of guy that just team first type mentality?
Man, all three of these guys are unselfish. All right, you know what I mean? And I think that, again, like I talked about earlier, they all compete with one another. He's done a phenomenal job since he's been here. I think he's had a really, really good career. He is the fastest man in the country. All right, you know, so and I, you know, try to make sure he understands that. You know, and I think he's going to have a good game this year to finalize, you know, his career here. But yeah, he's a very unselfish. All those guys are very unselfish. I've been lucky enough to be within those guys for the amount of time that I have been with those guys. But yeah, I don't know if that answers your question, but
No.
that's who he is. I can't wait to see him in this final game. All three of these guys, but you know, I wish they were all coming back if it was my way.